Let's look at a switch case statement or case switch statement, depending on who you talk to. So we already looked at some control flow structures, specifically if statements. And we looked at our if else and our if else, or if else, else, and yada, yada, yada. Let's go back to our example that we looked at before, where we have a string color, and based off of the color, we're going to talk about the sky. So we had a conditional for blue and for red. I'm going to add some others in here. Else if color equals green, we're going to print out look out, the aliens have landed. Because I don't really know what it means if the sky is green. Well, let's see, what else could be happening with our sky? Else if color equals yellow. See out lots of sunblock. Very sunny. Okay. So we've got this if else, if else, if else, if else statement, and it's starting to get a little unwieldy. It's really not, but let's say our example is here. C++ actually has a better way to handle something like this. We can use our switch case statement. So we can run this again. And we'll see that since we have it set to red, it falls into the else if clause for red and prints out must be a sunset. We can make this a little syntactically prettier if we use our switch case. So how do we go about doing that? So I'm going to start by using the switch keyword. And the switch statement, instead of taking a conditional true-false statement, it's going to take just a single variable. The variable that we're interested in this case is color. So I'm going to put color inside my parentheses. And then I'm going to convert my first if clause into a case statement. And the syntax for that is just case, the other keyword in our case or switch case statement, blue, and then a semicolon, or sorry, a colon. To be differentiated from a semicolon, you want a colon at the end of a case statement. And then I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. And typically we line the case statement up like this. Okay, so that is the case for blue. We're going to add in a case for red. And go ahead and see if we can get a little faster. Case for red or case for green. Case for yellow. And with the case switch statement, you don't need the curly braces. You can use them, but you don't need them. And now finally, we have our else statement. And our else doesn't have any conditional saying color equals something. So what am I going to do with that? Well, if you think about what the else statement is saying whatever conditionals came before it, none of those worked. I am your default case. What is the default case? So in a switch case statement, we are given a default case. And that's what we're going to convert our else to. And I'm actually going to keep, I wouldn't recommend this, but I'm keeping the curly brackets there just to show you that it doesn't matter. You can use them or you don't have to. Now we do need another set, or we need to close our switch statement with another curly bracket, but we can still have these in here. It doesn't change the functioning of the code. Okay, so I've gone ahead and updated my if else statement. And now let's try running this. Let's see what happens. Okay, let's look at the compiler output. Oh no, lots of errors. Expression is not an integral constant expression. The problem is I'm using strings, and it doesn't know how to evaluate the string for a case. Each case has to map to an integer value. And now don't get too caught up on that. There's many ways that eventually the compiler has to come up with an integer value, but we can make a lot of these things look like our strings or use things that can change into integers for our cases. So don't get totally caught up that it has to be just 1, 2, 3 there. So how are we going to fix this? Well, I'm going to introduce another concept that you don't have to worry about right now called an enum. And I'm going to say enum color. And the first one is going to be blue. And I'm going to say this is equal to 1. Then I'm going to have green. That is equal to 2. Sorry, red. I put there second. Red, green, yellow. Now, for an enum, you actually don't need to specify the values. If you want it to go just 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 like I have, you can just define blue, red, green, yellow. But to illustrate what's going on here, I'm setting them equal to it explicitly. And really what these are doing are setting up constant variables for you. It's just a substitution of 1 where you can say blue in your code. So now if we change this to color, which is the name of our enum, and we set it to red, and now we're still switching on color, but I've changed the type of color. It's now this enum. And now if I go ahead and substitute my old strings for my enum values, blue, red, green, and yellow. Now what happens? I'll probably still get a compiler error because I probably made a mistake in the code somewhere. But let's give it a shot. Oh, nope, there we go. It compiled. All right, so let's see now if we run it, if we get the same output that we did with our if else statement. Oh no, something's wrong. Instead of just getting must be sunset, We got everything. We got everything after sunset. We got what we thought would be for green and yellow and default. Well, what's going on? This is obviously not right. Well, because we're not using our nice curly braces like we have in our if-else statements, we have to somehow tell the compiler that our case statement is ending. And the way you do that is with a break statement. So we need to add a break to every one of our cases because they're all different. If you happen to have two cases that you want to execute the same code for, you can actually just stack the cases on top of each other. You could say case blue, case red, and then the sky underneath it. In this case, we're printing out something different for each one, so we need our break for all of our cases. Now, do I need one in the default? Well, you don't actually need it in the default because it's going to exit out of the case switch at that point anyway, but you can always put it in if you want it for good style. So let's try rebuilding and running. Oh, now look what we got. Must be sunset. Hello world. So now it's functionally equivalent to the if-else statement we had before. Well, there's our introduction to switch case statements. Have fun.